Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabi Porras. I'm a senior project manager for Car Construction, and we're thrilled here to moderate. We're going to have this panel, to discuss about focus on career and skill traits. And so I'll introduce here our panelists here shortly, but first I want to go ahead and kind of lay a little bit the demand for the industry and where construction is today. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you can see my screen, um, everyone can see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. So crafting futures, I know at Clark Construction, we are pro college. We are also, if people don't want to go to college, there is a path for people to really have awareness about what rewarding career paths there are in the field. And so that is really what we're going to focus on today, the skill traits. And so for a second, I want everyone in the recording or right now at your homes, just think about your commute. Think about when you go to school, when you are in summer camps, or you're in a facility for athletics, church, the building that I'm at right now. They've all been built by skilled craft workers. So, skilled professionals such as plumbers, carpenters, electricians, mechanics, operators. They really are the backbone of our industry. And projects like what I just mentioned, they just don't get built if we don't have people to support it. So the construction industry is booming. It is, according to in the U.S., it is the second fastest growing industry in the U.S. According to a recent report by Indeed. And so it really has a lot of potential. And right now in our area and in the U.S., where we have 8 million men and women working in construction nationwide, and just in this area alone, about 330,000. Um, and with new infrastructure, the nice thing about construction is it's very stable because in moments where the economy is booming, construction is booming. In moments where it's not, there's a big push from the government, from infrastructure bills, to because that generates jobs, right? And so there's a huge demand in infrastructure to be delivered annually. So 2 trillion in buildings and infrastructure alone are being delivered in the U.S. So there is a huge demand. So let's talk about the opportunities for all of you. So there is in the next decade, roughly 30% of our existing workforce is going to retire. So that creates a 2.6 million expected people that we need, that are going to be retiring. And right now, we have a lot of unfilled positions as we stand right now. So if you compound those unfilled positions with the fact that we're getting 30% of our workforce to retire, that's going to generate a major need and demand ahead for skill trades. And so you can kind of see the math alone, right? 13.1 million is going to be needed, but we're going to have a shortfall of 7.7. So what this honestly is just telling you is that there's a huge demand for the skill talent. It's never been higher ever. So it really highlights the urgent need to build the next generation of really skilled professionals. So construction, why come into construction? We'll touch this in the panel, but construction is really a great place to build a career. It allows for accessible and diversity of career paths. Like we mentioned, you can have a college degree, but you can also not have a college degree and still find your place within the industry. It provides, financial career stability. Like I mentioned, there is a lot of demand, so you're going to have stability for finding a job. You're also going to have life-sustaining wages. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how certain capabilities are in high demand and require high wages because of it. There's also, like I mentioned, opportunities for a degree, and the nice thing about this is with a degree or without a degree, like if you pursue the trades, you might not have student debt, which is huge. I mean, a lot of people sometimes graduate with a lot of debt and they're still not making, you know, ends meet. So you also have accessibility for advancement and opportunity. So like hands-on training, valuable career experience, and once you know a trade, you know that for life. It's a skill set that you can use for creating your own business, to create a side hustle, to work on the weekends. Even if you decide to shift and do something different, you're always going to have that opportunity and experience. and it really gives you a chance to solve complex, problems. You collaborate with people, and you're building things that matter in the community. And there's a huge sense of pride in delivering, our community. So we'll touch on all of these here shortly, but with that, I want to really introduce here our panelists. So let me go ahead and stop sharing. And all right, so today we have here, now that you've heard a little bit about the demand, we have Mario Riaño with Clark Concrete, who's joining us today. We have Aaron Boland as a foreman of C3M, and then we have Junmi Carroll as a foreman for W.E. Bowers. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, talk a little bit about what their role is, how many years in construction they've had, and which locations and whatnot. But Mario, why don't we start with you?
Sure, Gabby, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mario Riaño. I work for Clark Concrete as a director of workforce development, and I have been with the company for 11 years. I have been in the construction industry for 32 years, and I enjoy every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Aaron, what about you? Aaron, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Aaron Boland. I'm a C3M foreman. I've been an electrician for 10 years. About it right now. I'm sorry,
Awesome.
what else would you need to know?
Yeah, I mean, briefly about you, but that's fine. I'll expand on your journey here shortly. What about Yumi? So we have another member here as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Yumi Carroll. I work for W. Bowers, a steam fitter welder and a foreman. I am in one of our 5 fabrication shops here in Beltsville, Maryland. I've been with the company for 18 years, but in an industry, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Awesome. All right, so why don't we share a little bit? I kind of mentioned why construction is a great place to build a career, but why don't we, explore more about what first attracted you to the construction industry and why you specifically chose to build a career in the trades? Maybe Yumi, we'll start with you.
Well, I went to a trade high school where I learned how to weld. And so that, obviously led me to get into the trades. But also the reason why I picked this as a career is because being from immigrant parents, a first generation American, I knew that college wasn't going to be part of, my path. So when I was introduced to the trades and realized that learning my trade and being able to work and being able to make enough money to support me and my family and not have no college debt, I knew that's the way I was going to go.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing. Mario, what about you?
Well, for me, all my life working with my hands has been part of me. In addition to that, I grew up surrounded by engineers in my family. So those two put together, and my curiosity about learning how things are built inspired me to go in construction. But definitely, I wasn't sure if college was for me, so I didn't want to spend the money starting from nothing. And I decided to go in the trades, and I found a job as a carpenter, and I decided to go there. And later on, I decided, okay, this is for me, and I like to learn more about it. So I went to college and got my bachelor's degree, civil engineering.
Thank you, Mario. You can kind of see how even if you're, some of you might have family that works in construction, some of you might just be first generation, might not have any background, but like there's all these different aspects to joining the industry. Aaron, what about you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what attracted you to the industry? Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what attracted you to the industry?
So yeah, so before I got on the trade, I was driving trucks for a living, and somebody at the gym one day told me, Aaron, you probably should just find something better to do. You look like you coming to the gym struggling every day. And he told me what they were paid. And to be honest, that's what got me right away, right? And then once I found out the opportunity, like you mentioned earlier, the opportunities to make money on the side, as well as starting your own business, I just thought, I mean, the options were endless, right?
So you found that wages really attracted you to becoming an electrician, right?
Right. That's a two-part thing, right? The wages and the lack of debt that, to be accrued with the education that we got.
Thank you, Aaron. So you're all now clearly, serving different roles within your organizations, whether it's a foreman, or a director. Why don't you tell us a bit about your personal journey? What brought you to where you're at today? Mario, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Like I said before, I knew from the get-go that construction was for me, and college was so it's expensive anywhere you see it. So before jumping into that, they said, okay, let's do this trade path. And I enjoy working with my hands and learning how things were built and working alongside experienced people. I did it for 2 years. This was enough time for me to really understand that, yeah, construction was for me. And then I decided to go into college and do my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. After that, I worked for 5 years in Colombia until I got the opportunity to move to United States. That was in 2000, and I arrived here. And when I arrived, I realized I didn't know anything about the culture, the language. I didn't speak English at all. So knowing that I had some experience as a carpenter, I decided to go back and start in the trades. And I did it. And I did it for 2+ years again until I learned the language, the construction methodology, and the culture. And I felt myself comfortable enough to apply for a job in the office to do what I went to college to do for. And I did. I got my first job in the office as an office engineer. And from there, I started learning more and getting more experience and growing. And now I've been trying to give back to the community by visiting schools and getting with the schools, the students, and talking about my journey. And now I'm the director of workforce development for a big company like Clark Concrete.
That's an amazing opportunity, Mario, and I'm so glad you mentioned how you relied back on your trade, right, to be able to break into an industry where you didn't have the language. I'm sure that coming from Colombia, I'm actually also Colombian, so coming from Colombia without the language, you were able to rely on your trade and enter the industry. Otherwise, you might have not been able to start in construction if you didn't have that background. So that is amazing. And now looking at you as a director and an executive at Clark, that's awesome. Aaron, what about you? Why don't you tell us more about your personal career journey?
Yes. So I graduated high school with a scholarship to play lacrosse. I had no plans on joining construction at all. I was actually a major in accounting. No one in my family's been in construction, wasn't even thinking about it. So I went to school for lacrosse. I dropped out of that, joined the Marine Corps. When I got back from that, like I mentioned earlier, I drove trucks and was told about the opportunities that were available with being an electrician. So I joined the apprenticeship. It's an aggressive application process. A lot of applicants get in. They don't. I think they let in less than half of them. But I got accepted my first go around, and it's a 5-year apprenticeship. We went to school every other week, paid the entire time. So every other day you weren't in school, you went to work, so you had on the job training. And then when you're at school, you got the same pay as you would if you were at work. So an 8-hour day paid. So after 5 years, I graduated. The same year I graduated, I became a foreman, which came with a truck to drive to and from work, as well as more pay. 2 years after that, I became a general foreman. And I think it was about 2 years after that, I'm now sitting as a superintendent for the Ivy City Amtrak job. So, I mean, I love what I do now. It's awesome. I do it on the side. I have plans of starting my own company. Always highly recommend.
That's awesome, Aaron, and it's great that you had the option to explore this industry. After dropping college, but like I mentioned, not college is not for everyone. What about you? What about your personal journey?
Just like Aaron, I went to the apprenticeship for 5 years. did my certifying welding in a couple of types of welding. I finished my apprenticeship. I became a mechanic, welder, fitter in the field for a couple of years. Then I had the blessing of being introduced to the fab shops where I was selected to be one of the pushers or lead person. And now I run one of the fab shops. So, again, this is, I don't know if it's been mentioned already, this is not just a job, it's definitely a career path. And it's a path that keeps going. There's no limit to where you could end up.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. You know, it's really inspiring to hear from all of your journeys and how you're all now in like leadership positions on your own trades and your own companies, respectively. Why don't we talk a little bit more about those career paths, Jimmy, that you're talking about? Like, what's available? What do apprenticeships look like? And what's the journey? You know, after high school, after the apprenticeship. Like, tell us more about that.
So for Local 602, which is Steamfitters apprenticeship program, it's a 5-year program. You go to school twice a week at night. So most of your learning is actually in the job sites, right? Because it's hands-on learning. And then when you go to school, a lot of the schooling has to do with the science or the math behind it. But there are some classes that you do weld or solder, braze, and anything else that has to do with our trade. But after your 5 years, you become a mechanic. And once you graduated, again, you could put your time in. As long as you know your trade, you could become a foreman, sub-foreman, a super like Aaron, and like Aaron, hopefully own your own company, and in the demand, like you mentioned before, for construction, that's not something impossible. It's actually something that anyone in construction has the ability to open your own shop.
Yeah, that is amazing. Aaron, is it similar the path, like W.E. Bowers and mechanics?
Yes, yes. So local 26's apprenticeship program is just like Emily said, it's a 5-year long apprenticeship program, except we do our school during the day. Actually this year they updated it to where it's 4 years of day school. And then after your 5th year of the apprenticeship is when you get your A money. But so I mean, if I could touch on apprentices compensation, right? Electricians, this is something you can look up on the internet. Local 26 electricians get paid right now about $57 an hour. A first-year apprentice with no experience at all would have 45% of that pay. So you'd be starting out at 20, 28 and some change, or close to that. And then every year you have a guaranteed raise of 10%. So as long as you're going to school once every 2 weeks and you're not getting any complaints against you on the job, you're performing your job well enough, you will get that 10% raise at the end of each year. And then, like I said, once you top out, within 5 years, you're going to make up to $30 more an hour than when you started.
Yeah, that is amazing, and you know, it just provides how the wages increase quickly. And you know, a lot of if you all want to go to college, it's great. I mean, I went to college, but yeah, you don't start making money until after you graduate. Whereas you know, with the trades, you can start making money on day one during your apprenticeship program, even if it's a reduced amount, and then you know, grow from there, which is great. And without the debt. What's the process, Aaron? If you don't mind expanding a little bit on like getting selected. I mean, I know it's probably competitive. How can you make like you stand out when you apply?
So each year they open up the application process around March, and between the months of March and June, you submit your application. You can get like recommendations from other people because you don't have to come in off the street to join this the apprenticeship. Our local 26 also has an R program where you're almost like a helper. You get paid less, but you have more experience you can gain before you start the application process. But you start the application process, like I said, in March. You take an aptitude test. So after you pass that aptitude test, you have to sit in an interview with a panel of electricians in front of you, and they ask you questions about your leadership skills, what experience you've had in the past, and no, right out of high school, you may not have crazy stories, but a story about how you led a team and you were team captain or you were in some group in high school, like all that stuff is relevant, right? Just you taking on a leadership role and being decisive. It's huge in construction, just being able to make a decision to stick to the schedule, right? It's just like any other race, really. Once you're accepted, you start the apprenticeship in August. And as soon as you start school is when you get that 45% of your A money. And then every other week you go to school, day school, from 7:30 till 3:30, I believe is what it is.
Got it. Thank you so much, Aaron, for that explanation. Mario, what about apprenticeships at Core Comfort? How do they work?
Yeah, Clark offers an apprenticeship program for carpenters, more specifically for what we call the form builders, form setters for cast in place concrete carpentry in the commercial construction industry. And this is a 3-year program. It's registered in Maryland. Uh, they are their wages start at about 67% of the fully journey worker wage, which is in the $21 an hour. Upon completion, they are a fully journey worker. Then, like Aaron and Yumni, they learn on the job. This is basically 90% of the time spent at the job site, working alongside experienced people, and 5% or 10% in class, which is equates basically to 1 full day every other week at the classroom, learning all the theory, math, construction math, safety, and all that. But that's basically it. It's a very it's been a challenge. I won't lie, to keep people enrolled in the program, and the reason behind that is it's not an easy job. When you work outside, you are exposed to the elements and all that. So it takes a while for people to get used to that, and it's hard work, but it pays off. At the end of the day, you keep growing as a leader in the company, and you create a career, and that is the first step is like stepping stone to grow into something bigger. Our vice president of operations started there, and now today is the vice president of operations. So it's not, you gotta keep your mind open for the future and your main goal in life, which is creating a career in the trades. That starts with an apprenticeship program with the union or open shop like we are here or whatever it is, but that's the key.
Thank you, Mario and Aaron and Yumi, for sharing that. So what do you think would be the qualities or characteristics that you think are essential for someone to be successful in your field? You touched a little bit, Mario, on obviously, it's hard work. What are some of those characteristics and qualities that you look for people to be successful?
Well, I'm going to mention a few. One very important for us is reliability. When I say that is, we look for people to go to work. Not only to go to work, but go to work on time. Show up every day. And the other one, important, if you're an apprentice, your task is learning. Your task is ask questions. Just your main thing to do in, day out. You go to work, if you don't know something, that's your best time to ask. If you don't understand, that's your best time to go and ask again. So definitely reliability and willingness to learn.
Thank
And
you.
I let
Yeah.
maybe Aaron or you need to say more.
Just like Mario said, right? Being dependable, showing up. You showing up is half the battle, and then once you're there, your work ethic speaks for you. So as long as you're willing to put in the time and the hard work, the benefits are just going to keep rolling in. And in reference to the wages, like Aaron mentioned, every year we get a raise. And then because we're union, every 3 years we have a contract. So that means that everyone gets a raise. So your actual, the end of your career, you definitely making more than 6 figures. And that's something that you don't see when you're going to college. And again, don't think I'm putting college down, because college is very important too. But for you to get that first step, to have the advantage of having already a career, and like Mario going back to school later, that's nothing that is not known that we could do. So it's also an option. It's always an option.
Aaron, what do you think?
I think number one is being teachable. I mean, I'm sure Mario and you and me can both attest to the fact that it doesn't matter how long you've been in the trade, you're always learning something new. I mean, you come out of the field, you're going to the office, you're learning something new. Say you come out of the office, you got to go out to the field for the first time. You're going to definitely learn something new out there. Decisiveness when you're on the job, just hesitating can be pretty gnarly, right? You can either get hurt or damage something on the job or get somebody else hurt. So being decisive is pretty important. And then initiative, right? If you want to advance your career, I mean, we've been talking about the opportunities available, but you have to have the initiative to seek the education or put yourself out there and say that you want more responsibility in order to move up and advance in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like how all of you kind of touch on. If I had to kind of touch a little bit on mine, right? Like I think, having enthusiasm and drive. And you guys, I think that touched on attitude, showing up early, just being there. I mean, that's super important. I think the second one for me would be just being able to deliver and have performance. I mean, showing up is half the battle, but at the end of the day, if you're going through the training, 5-year, 4-year, 3-year apprenticeship program, you're going to get all the skills and you're going to be, expected to deliver on your role. And so we talked a little bit about having the work ethic and being reliable, and all of that is going to contribute to your success, to take ownership and grow your career. And I think the last one that I think all of you kind of touched on is, learning and growing, right? Immersing yourself in the culture, in understanding the trades, asking questions, all of that, and learning and building your technical expertise is so important. So I appreciate all of you kind of sharing that. All right, why don't we shift a little bit to, what about fun, right? I'm sure like there's got to be some things that you really enjoy at work. So if you had to pick, what do you enjoy the most, and what is the most rewarding thing about your role? What would you say, Aaron? Let's start with you.
I'm glad you picked me first. So I see on me smiling. I don't recall if Mario said he was in the field, but it honestly is just sometimes it's rough days, it's hot, it's cold, and the work may suck, right? But you're around a bunch of guys, a bunch of girls. We're doing the same exact thing you're doing. You're all embracing it. You can joke around all day. You're making fun of one another. You might mess up and make jokes about it. Somebody does an install and somebody else makes fun of it. I mean, it's just all it's as long as we're getting the work done, we're always laughing on the job. I mean, I can honestly say, I'm sure everybody who's been in construction can say there probably isn't a day where you're not getting a good laugh out of something, right? So, like you said, I mean, positivity just comes with it, right? You're around your brothers and sisters, and you're just getting something done.
Yeah, I love how you basically goes back to that team culture, right? In construction, you're working with a team, and so you're having fun, you're having a laugh, but it's also because you're not alone, and that it's a nice environment to be in. Yumni, what do you think?
I would say we are the ones that invented nicknames. Okay, construction workers, if you don't have a nickname, by the end of your career, you will have one. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it'll stick for your whole career. But like Aaron said, it is a family culture, right? Because you probably see your workmate, you spend more time with them than your actual family at home. Because you're at work 8 hours, 10 hours a day. And then if you go to school together, that's even more time together. So it is definitely a tight-knit family environment. And just like family, we fight, we argue, but we get the job done and we laugh at each other.
That's great. Mario, what do you think?
I agree with both. Interacting with people is priceless. It's one of the best things that we have in this industry. But also, for me, are the tangible changes that we see every day in and day out. We walk into a job site, we work the 8 hours, and when we get out of there, we made a change. Something changed. We built something. We did something that is you can see and talk about it. The other thing that is very rewarding for me is to talk about my projects, how I was part of a project, how it was built, how the intrinsic parts of the project, and talking to my kids is part of my day to day. We go home, we have dinner, and we talk about what we did, and I enjoy talking to them about it. And one thing that is even more rewarding is when we are driving alongside the road and they repeat the same thing that I said. They say, my dad built that. My dad did was part of this. That's rewarding. That is something that for me is it pays my day.
No, absolutely. And actually, Clark Construction has this tagline that we use quite often. It's which is proud what builds together what matters. So it's nice that we're basically it's
Yes.
both. It touches on that we're building it together, that team environment, and that we're proud of what we do. We take pride on our work and what we deliver, and it's nice. There's a lot of industries where you do not see your hard work right there, tangible right after. And so it's nice you'll be able to in a week see what you put in place, and that is really amazing. And to see the progress of a project in a year, it's very very rewarding as well. um, Great. So what do you see the future of your industry, and what makes it an exciting field to be a part of? Aaron, what do you think?
So obviously, with everything nowadays being more efficient, being better for the environment, we have electric vehicles. I mean, the writing on the wall, right? Electricians are hot and heavy on pushing everything forward when it comes to like the future. And I think what's gnarly is that almost every single job in some way, shape, or form has you have to have lights almost on every single job. So electricians are there, right? And like you mentioned earlier, they're already seeing a shortage of manpower, just because people aren't getting into it. But that doesn't mean that the demand isn't going to be there, right? They're always going to want something new, something faster, something nicer looking. So the growth is there. It's always going to keep on growing.
Absolutely. And right now, actually, there's a lot of data center work, and I know electricians are like half of the workforce for those. So there's huge trends on green infrastructure, but also like just the AI and just being able to keep up with the infrastructure, the new infrastructure that we have. Yumi, what do you think? What are you seeing in your industry with the mechanical?
Data centers, definitely. That's pretty much our bread and butter here in Bowers right now. And it's not stopping. It just keeps moving down south or west. So work is always going to be there for us. And in reference to the future, like you said, AI and all that, I mean, but for this generation, this coming generation, that's why we need you guys the most, because we're trying to be more proactive and more productive. So we're trying always implementing new systems. And with these new systems, we need people that know how to use computers, how to read CAD drawings, how to program our systems. So I believe this is the perfect generation to come in and do all of this. Because we old people, we can't. We can't. It took me 20 minutes to try to sign into the Zoom thing. So that just shows you how much we need all of these tech savvy children.
It's funny, actually. I remember a coworker usually, for operators operating the crane or equipment, they really equated it to video games, and how you're basically you know doing that, mimicking the video game environment and just putting pieces together. So it's just kind of funny references, but it is a good analogy. Mario, what do you think is like the future here on carpentry and?
Um, we are shooting for prefabrication. Uh, we are trying to the industry is trying to prefab more in a controlled environment to make it more productive. Not only while you are building the prefab formwork, in my case, but also creating this control environment for the workforce. Um, the idea, like I said, we said at the beginning, this is a hard work working in the exposed to the weather and all that. The idea is to create some more appealing uh, environment for the future workforce. and by doing that, creating more productive work, being more productivity on site, having more productivity on site. So I think prefabrication is one step that we gotta move into.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing the future here. I guess if you were to, yeah, part of the people in this room, what would you tell them about the construction industry and why they should be a part of it? I know we've touched on, what trades, characteristics, and everything, but why, wages? Why should people be part of construction right now?
I would say because it's definitely our future as a country, right? You already threw out the numbers, the statistics. I mean, construction is what's booming right now, and there won't be a lack of it for a long time. And it's a way to make a lot of money without having any debt. And that's why I believe this construction should be something that everyone considers if they're looking for a career path.
Thank you, Mario. What do you think?
Well, I go back to working with your hands provides immediate reward, and working hard and take the time to learn from people surrounding you is priceless. It's just something that you cannot do on many other professions, if you will, or careers. Starting in the trades is just a stepping stone into the very successful career. Like we all said, the three of us have said here, it's just the first step, and from there you can develop whatever you want to do. If it is in construction or something else, for sure, whatever you did in the trades, you can carry that with you, that experience with you anywhere you go. And no matter if you step away from the trades, you're going to have a house. You can do the work yourself because you're not afraid to work with your hands. So definitely. And if later on you want to go to college, you can do it. Nothing impedes you to go to college later on, and maybe you already have the money to pay for college, or maybe a company can pay for your college, and you don't have to go incur into that debt.
It's a great point, Mario. That is a good point. Um, Aaron, what do you think?
I think the coolest part about it, and why they should join the trades is that the stuff you see on the news about this is the first bus charging building in the world or the country, like you're a part of that, right? And then like Mario mentioned earlier, when you have kids, you're rolling around with your friends and you pass something that you built and they're like, oh, that's pretty sick, dude. And you can honestly say, oh, that's cool. I mean, I did that. I was a part of that, right? And like I said, I mean, all the change that this country, that this world is pushing, you're the hands, you're the brains, you're the back, honestly, that's putting it together, right?
Yeah, no, appreciate it, and it's amazing that, like I mentioned, like just think about anything that you do on your day to day today, you had to go through something that was built by people in the trades. So um, it touches everything. I want to touch on a quick question that, as well, on how construction has been, traditionally a male dominated field. But maybe if you can maybe touch a little bit about what the exciting changes that you're seeing as a woman in the industry to enhance the overall environment, like just touch a little bit on that.
In the past, I've been, like I mentioned before, I've been doing this 30 years, but in the past 10 years, I've seen the growth of the diversity of more ladies coming into these industries, and it keeps growing. Of course, it's still a male dominated industry, but we are making a change. And if it's not outstanding numbers, just our presence, having a few women in the job site, it does help. You see that diversity, you see that team effort, and you're changing the culture. And that's something that we all have to work hard on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, Aaron, I've kind of noticed too, like me being in job sites, a little bit about, as a senior project manager, you also have to go out in the field and be, involved. And I've seen a lot of, like actually electrician women in the electrical trades as well. And so maybe if you can touch a little bit, Aaron, about your coworkers and your environment right now.
think one of the best things that women bring to the trades is different way of thinking of things, right? They're gonna think about how they would do something as opposed to the guy, which honestly may think of it's gonna be more backbreaking. Oh yeah, I can just muscle this in. You know, when I was an apprentice, one of the smartest journeymen I worked with was a woman out of Ohio. She was traveling for work, working down here at a power plant. And the way she would tell me to do work was definitely different than how the guys would tell me how to do work, right? And she was, and honestly, she was a better teacher. I mean, I learned a lot from her. She was much more patient, and like I said, she just thought about everything was different the way she thought about it, right? Not completely different, but it seemed like she put more thought into it, and we weren't killing ourselves getting stuff done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've seen that growth throughout, like in many trades. Like when I'm in the job sites, I see a lot of painters and just the level, and talking to foreman and superintendents, the level of detail. It's just great to have both, right? Both the muscle, like you mentioned, but also the level of detail and everything. So we're seeing that it is an exciting, don't just think that, it is an exciting environment for both women and men. And there is a big, I would say, awareness right now to bring women up as well in leadership positions. Like Uni, she runs her own shop and her team. So that is an exciting as well time for that. I guess I'm going to ask one more question. I know we're running here to ensure that there's like a Q&A opening. But I guess if someone is starting their career tomorrow in your trade, what would be like your advice and next steps to give someone today in the call about starting tomorrow? Who wants to take that? I'll let you decide, or all of you.
I would say definitely be willing to learn, right? Be humble enough to listen and to apply what you're learning, and make sure you retain it, because that's the hardest part. You're gonna get so much information, but you need to learn how to retain that information. And once you learn and manage to do that, then you're on the right track.
Thank you, Mario. What do you think?
I'll say be patient, especially in this generation that we are seeing right now. Many of them want to be the leader, and so be patient and learn how to do the work so you can lead the team and be very successful at it. And like Yumi said, learning, ask questions. That's your best moment. And the more questions you ask, the more you learn, the more you retain, the faster you're going to grow and get to that position that he or she might be thinking to be at. But be patient.
Aaron, what do you think? What will be your advice for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to touch on next steps first, right? Obviously, I would say tomorrow, Google it, just Google it, right? Google the debt, comparison between college students after 4 years of school, and I don't know, an electrician, a local 602 guy, and see how much debt they had after their 4 years of their school, right? And just so you can see on paper what it actually is, right? And try not to hold off too long on making the decision. The trades are always there, right? You can try out college, and if it doesn't work out, just like me, I went to college for 3 semesters and then I dropped out. But if it doesn't work out, it's always there. But the sooner you get in, quite honestly, the sooner you can get out, right? So start your career and start learning and push through sooner than later.
Excellent. Mario.
Well, yeah, I think I gave my answer, but yeah, it'll be just to be patient and learn. That's what I summarize everything. I agree with Aaron and Yumi. This definitely the career is a great career. The trades is a great career, but like anything else, you need to learn how to do the work so you can be the leader, and that happens sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate all of your answers. And I know, I guess Kate's adding a couple of questions here into the chat. So why don't we cover some of those real quick? So this kind of is similar to some of the things that you answered. But I mean, the question is, what is the first step for anyone on this call that is interested? Do I just call Clark if I want to be a welder? I think, again, speaking to welder, maybe Yumi, I think, and Aaron, you guys mentioned, going through the union online, right? And going through. So maybe why don't you remind us the websites that you have to go through to apply?
So I would say, if you want to get into welding or steam fitting, which is, the same trade, you have to go to the local 602 website and apply to be a helper. That'll be your first step. Because like Aaron mentioned, the selection for apprentices is getting harder and harder. Just to give you a number, before we would get maybe 600 applicants, and out of the 600, we would get 250 to 300 in. Just this last year, we had 3,000 people apply. And out of the 3,000, we only got 350. We're only allowed to include 350. So to me personally, your first step is to get a helper's job doing this. And then that's your first step and opening the door towards your apprenticeship. And then once you're in the apprenticeship, you learn how to weld, you learn how to steam fit, I'm sorry. And then you decide you can either be a steam fitter, pipe fitter, or a welder. That's for local 602.
Awesome. And I just put the website here on our chat so people can go through and you'll see the apprenticeship program link where you can find more details of the application. Aaron, what about for electricians?
It's the same exact thing as 602, right? So their helper is our art worker. You have the opportunity to get into the local immediately without any interviews. You can get right into the field. But then you just go to local 26's JATC, is what you're looking for, the Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, and apply. Again, that opens up in March, and you would start in August.
Perfect. And there is a lot of information about Local 26 and how to apply. So again, I'll try to jump in here real quick with the
And
website.
602, the apprenticeship, they start taking applicants in November. And by January, they start calling people in because we do a math test, we do an aptitude test, and then an interview. So it's 3 steps you have to go through before you're selected.
Thank you, Yumi. And we talked already about what are some of the qualities and some of the things that is going to make you successful, right? We talked about if you're a leader in your group or athletics or some of that, that's all going to help. So think about, especially as you're all here in the summer, how you can kind of reinforce some of the things that you can bring up that is going to help your application, whether it's an internship right now or, being a helper or something that's going to help your resume, if you will, to get that attention out of 3,000 applicants. Mario, what is the process for building a career at Clark? What's the next website that they can go to?
So, for the carpenters, for the ones interested in carpentry, we have the apprenticeship program. The application opens in May and goes run until mid-June. The selection process takes 2 weeks, and the classes start in July, the first, second week of July, depending on the holiday. But that's every year. That's how we get our apprentices, and is I can send you the QR code now. It's not open because it opens from May to June. But at the time that opens, I can put you in contact or send you the QR code where you can apply.
Yeah, no, I think that would be helpful to have the QR code or the website here, even though it opens in May through June. I'm also going to go ahead and share the Clark Construction website, where you can find information about how to build meaningful careers, how there's videos and there's testimonies, and I can send this website that is useful. But Mario, if you can help us put in here the chat, the link or the QR
Yes.
code, that would be perfect. Let's see what other questions we might have over here. Any other questions, Kate, that you've seen or maybe just open it up to the group. And if anyone wants to unmute, feel free to do so. If you're, it's fine if you also want to provided it.
I have a question because we have an internship program here for our seniors. Are there any internship programs for current high school seniors that they would do like half day?
With 602, you have to be 18 years old and have a high school, either high school certificate, what's the word?
Diploma or GED?
Diploma
probably.
or a GED, yes.
Okay.
I think electricians might be similar, right, Aaron?
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Clark, Mari, I think you had mentioned that we might have like some opportunities. It's a little younger.
We do. This year we started an apprentice, an internship program with a school in Virginia. We brought 3 apprentices. I'm sorry, interns, if you will, interns. Basically, they are at the job site working alongside one of our field engineers and one of our foremen. Um, and it's been successful. It's been something that we wanted to do for a long time, but now that we are approved to bring under 18, uh, we are uh, we are implementing that, and we are looking to do it next year again, next summer, and hopefully we can get in touch with Montgomery County and bring more interns.
We
The
would
key
be,
here is, as you know, we need to have projects where we are self-performing the
Mhm.
work. So we cannot have like 10. We wish we could have 10 interns, but if we only have 3 projects, we might be limited to that. So Clark Construction doesn't self-perform on every project. That's why we need to uh, be sure that we have
Mhm.
the crews working on different projects so we can bring the interns.
Yep. Thank you.
But on the website, Kate, what that I put in mini careers of Clark, there's a contact us. So if anyone is um, interested, they can go and click get in touch and put the question in. Hey, I'm interested for a summer internship. Obviously, it's already end of July at this point, not this year. But if you're a rising senior and you're interested for next year or whatnot, I think that's the first step is to contact us there. But again, Clark is not the only partner that does this, right? The construction industry is massive, and we're promoting. We don't want people to just be like, think of Clark. We also have here W.E. Bowers. We have C3M, which is a part of Clark. But in general, we're trying to just bring people to the industry, raise awareness. There's many construction companies. There's also many subcontractors. What we want at Clark, and just so that you understand a little bit more role, Clark is a general contractor. But we, in a job site, like Mario mentioned, we don't self-perform everything, which means that we're hiring 50 other companies that are going to do the painting, the electrician, the mechanical work, the concrete, the masonry, windows. So it's just so many different companies, and all of them are all in the same mission that they want to promote and bring people in the trade. So they all have their own programs. They might all have their different apprenticeships. They all might have different benefits as to whether they reimburse for college later on or not. So I just invite all of you to really kind of deeper in the industry, do some searches. I mean, after this call, the biggest thing you can do is it's not just go back and go to the pool right now. Just spend some time actually looking at the links that we shared and investigating. Hey, is this the right approach for me? The right wage decision? What can I make? How much am I going to spend on college? How much am I going to make in this career? What's my goal? Like Mario mentioned, right? And you, me, and Aaron, like they're now leaders in the industry. Like, do I want to stay in the trades, or do I want to start in the trades to then become a leader? So all of those things are possibilities. That's probably the best next first step after this call.
Right, and I'm actually on your Clark site right now looking at these jobs, and I just want to state that you don't even have to be in construction to get a job with Clark. They have human resources positions, and all sorts of other things. Yes, a lot of an attorney. So just keep that in mind. And they are also all over the country, I'm noticing. So if you want to land somewhere else, you'll have an opportunity to do that. So, well, this has been absolutely great. I thank you so much. I'm actually going to stop the recording.